Welcome back. Leaders and diplomats from Europe, the Middle East, and the United States were in Munich, Germany over the weekend for a major security meeting. Addressing delegations, French President Emmanuel Macron and the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo disagreed with rumors that the West is losing cohesion. Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier warned the U.S., China, and Russia of stoking global mistrust and insecurity with what he called a great powers competition that could threaten a new nuclear arms race.
President Steinmeier deplored America, China, and Russia's approach to global affairs, and without naming the U.S. president, took issue with his vow to make America great again. A goal, he said, that comes at the expense of neighbors and partners. He mentioned that Russia had made military force and the violent shifting of borders on the European continent the means of politics once again. On China, he said the country accepts international law only selectively where it does not run counter to its own interests. And as for the U.S., again, under the present administration, it rejects the idea of an international community. He then called for a European policy towards Russia that is not limited to condemning statements and sanctions alone, saying Europe must find its own balance with China between intensifying competition between systems and the need for cooperation. French President Emmanuel Macron, addressing the summit, said the EU needs to wake up and match its budget with the scale of its ambitions so that it does not fall behind the United States and China, especially in future technologies. He told the gathering that Europe was becoming a continent that does not believe in its own future. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called for countries to work together to face up to the crisis facing the world in 2020. He said a growing lack of trust in leaders was causing citizens to fall for populist movements that were moving in globally to exploit people's anxieties.
It is the defining issue of our time. It will reshape our societies and the global economy. And above all, it threatens not only our way of life, but our very existence. When I joined the other world leaders in signing the Paris Agreement, I pledged that Canada would do its part to meet this challenge. More than 4 years later, I stand before you more determined than ever to be a full partner in the international fight against climate change. Ahead of COP26 in Glasgow, I will continue to be a champion for a price on pollution, both at home and abroad, because a world where it is no longer free to pollute anywhere is a world ready to defeat the climate crisis and seize the opportunities of a new era.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, on his part, defended the United States' global role and then launched a scathing attack on China and Russia, vowing that the West's ideals and values would prevail. He was responding to criticism by German President Steinmeier, who said the U.S. rejected the idea of an international community.
Those statements simply do not affect in any significant way or reflect reality. I'm happy to report that the death of the transatlantic alliance is grossly over-exaggerated. The West is winning. We are collectively winning. We're doing it together.
On the sideline of the summit, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu accused Libyan military commander Khalifa Haftar of constantly violating a ceasefire, saying he must be stopped so a political solution could be found. Turkey backs the internationally recognized government of Faiz al-Sarraj in Libya and has sent military personnel to the country in support of Sarraj. President Tayyip Erdogan has also warned that Ankara may deploy troops if necessary. NGO and civil society directors also sounded the alarm on the Idlib crisis, saying there has been too little attention to what may be the world's worst humanitarian crisis in waiting.
So what is needed now, as a matter of humanitarian concern for the people of Idlib and as a matter of basic avoidance of another refugee crisis, is firm pressure on Putin to stop. Europe has leverage with Putin. He wants the Ukraine sanctions lifted. He wants normal economic relations. He wants the stature of being regarded as a respected rather than a lawless leader. It's time for Europe to start exercising that leverage and to insist that there will be severe consequences if Putin proceeds in authorizing this bloodbath in Idlib.
China defended its efforts at curbing the coronavirus, saying the epidemic is controllable. As figures have shown, China claims to have cured more than 8,000 cases of the virus to date.
Before we go, here are other discussions in diplomatic circles. Members of the Libya International Committee on Sunday gathered to carry on further talks to reach a permanent ceasefire in the region. Libya has had no stable central authorities since former leader Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown by the NATO-backed rebels in 2011. For more than 5 years, it has had two rival governments in the east and the west, with streets controlled by armed groups. At the same conference, the UN Deputy Special Representative to Libya, Stephanie Williams, said violations of the arms embargo in Libya have become a joke, and it is imperative that those who breach it are held to account.
As the SRSG has said, I think on numerous occasions, the arms embargo has become a joke. And so we all really need to step up here. And it is complicated because there are violations that are, happening on land, sea, and air. And that all needs to be monitored, and there needs to be accountability, ultimately. Libya is awash in weaponry, and now advanced weaponry, and that's very dangerous for regional peace and security, not to mention international peace and security.
In another development, Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu says he's told his Russian counterpart that attacks in Syria's northwestern Idlib region must stop immediately and that a lasting ceasefire has to be achieved there. Turkey and Russia have collaborated on a political solution to the Syrian conflict, but back opposing sides, and a Syrian government offensive in Idlib has raised tensions between them. Recently, Syrian forces have turned their focus to an area northwest of Aleppo, where they are trying to seize more ground to push rebels away from the city. Russian warplanes mounted heavy airstrikes in the area on Sunday, bombing towns including Anadan. Global figures have recently lauded the active measures China has taken in the fight against the novel coronavirus outbreak and praised the encouraging results the country has achieved. Among them are Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa and South Africa's Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Toko Didiza.
We have actually risen to the challenge and mobilized all possible resources for two reasons: to contain the outbreak of the coronavirus, as well as to minimize and mitigate the casualty resulting from the coronavirus. The current indications are that new cases are declining, as the facts now show. We in Zimbabwe, I wrote to my counterpart, the President of the People's Republic of China, giving Zimbabwe support.
We are actually feeling the pain and share in the pain of the People's Republic of China on what they are going through right now. The way China dealt with the SARS, they will be able to also deal with this virus.
North Korea has released photographs of its leader Kim Jong-un at the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, marking the birth anniversary of his father and late state leader Kim Jong-il. Leader Kim paid tribute to the statues of former leaders with North Korea's high-ranking officials. It's his first public appearance in 22 days amid the coronavirus outbreak. He was last seen attending Lunar New Year celebrations on January 25th. And that's our stop on Diplomatic Channel this week. Thank you for watching. As always, we look forward to reading your comments and, of course, your questions. The addresses to reach me on are on your screen. Go on to the channel's YouTube page to watch more editions of the program. I am Amarachi Rani. I'll see you next time.